record. All right. Hello, everyone. This is Francesca. Thank you so much for joining me today on the New Media Retailer podcast. I am so excited to welcome Kris, the owner of Stony Brook Gardens today. Kris, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome.
To kick it off, do you want to tell us a little bit about your story, a little bit about your business, how you guys got started?
My husband and I met. I was working at a garden center in high school and then went to college. He was in college, just graduating. And so we crossed one summer, probably said hello, and that's about it. And then after I graduated college, I went back to this landscape company and he was there. And at first I was a laborer and worked on his landscape crew. And then I was brought back to run their newly built garden center. And he ran their garden center in Pennsylvania for a while, and I was helping him. And then I was brought back to Princeton. And after a couple of years, we said, we kind of maybe could do this together.
Yeah.
And so after we got married, we decided to take the plunge and start one ourselves.
Gotcha. And for those that don't know, where is your business located?
The business is in Pennington, New Jersey.
Okay.
And he had grown up locally. I had grown up locally. We had done landscaping, garden center, the whole bit. So we thought we could put together with our experience and start our own thing.
And what year was that? What year did you start your business?
We opened in 1989.
Wow. My gosh. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks. Thanks.
And what kind of makes your store a little bit different from like other garden centers, maybe in the state of New Jersey?
Well, I think some people really like the fact that it's like a mom and pop. And people have commented online, like, I talked to the owner and oh my goodness, they actually were out helping me. And it seems like the personal touch is what appeals to some people that don't want to do Home Depot.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. That's so true for like, regardless of the type of business, so true for small businesses. Like that customer service just can never compare to a big box store because you are working with the owner or staff members that are so educated in various topics that just doesn't compare when you go to a big box store.
We also find that, really important to us is to say to our staff, say hello. Do you need help? I'm over here watering. Just yell if you need me. Be a person. Yeah. Because even in other garden centers, we walk around and we tour them after our busy season, our local garden centers.
Okay.
And we can go in and out and no one ever says a word to us.
Wow.
And that really irks me. I'm like, I don't want my staff to do that. I want you to say hello. The first thing should say hello to 5 people, and that customer should have had 5 of us say hello to them.
Yeah. Wow. We have a phrase we use here, keep it simple, stupid. But isn't it crazy how simple of a concept that seems, but is missed by so many?
Well, I think it is so simple. And I also feel like the young people today are so engaged in other things. They don't really talk.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are like, they look at you like, what? I'm like, hi, how are you? It's a beautiful day. And they look at me like, oh, yes, it is. Yeah. And like no one's ever spoken to them before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such an interesting concept. And my parents own a small pizzeria restaurant. And I remember one day I was sitting there eating lunch and my brother said something to a customer as they were leaving. It was a younger kid and he was leaving and the kid responded back, you too. And my brother said, I always love to see who's actually paying attention. Like what I said to him, the response, you too, doesn't make sense at all. And since he said that to me, I now am so aware of like what people say to me. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Like you as well, or like whatever the appropriate response is. Cause I want people to know, like, I'm paying attention. I appreciate the fact that you are giving me good customer service.
And isn't it interesting? We have to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know it really is. Put your phone down, pay attention. Like it's so important.
But a garden center is a beautiful place. And so when people come in, you just have to yell, hello, I'm over here. And if you need help, and you get a good response. People they all of a sudden feel like they're in a beautiful place, not just walking through a store.
Absolutely. Now, would you say more people that are coming in are more like familiar with the types of plants and products and they sort of know what they're looking for? Or are you getting a lot of like beginner DIYers, maybe like through COVID, they're sort of picking this up as a hobby?
Both. We have a lot of new gardeners, but I think the average gardener nowadays is not like years ago when they came in with a list and they knew what they wanted. Now gardening, people come in, they want something pretty on their deck. They
Mhm.
don't know about plants. They don't particularly care. They
Right.
want something. So we have to, go to, or is it sun or shade? And,
Mhm.
like what colors do you like? And help them to pick. But they are not specifically wanting a geranium or wanting
Right.
a petunia. They don't know, and they don't really care to know. They
Right.
just want something pretty, which is interesting from our perspective because um, I grow a lot of our plants and I like to have unique, cool things, new things.
Right.
And most people don't care. So,
I feel like unfortunately I'm probably that person. I'm like,
right.
low maintenance is great. Just can you point me in that direction?
But that's exactly it. It's younger, and so we have to have stuff that works
Yeah.
for that. And I think they are the ones that appreciate some help the most
Yeah.
because they're really kind of lost, and
Yes.
it's overwhelming to see all the plants and all the colors. So if we can grab them and say, here's a couple hanging baskets,
Mhm.
we can make that into a pot, or you can make that the exact same plants. Look and find something that you like, and we can put it together, by piece.
Right. So how do you begin to train your staff? Like obviously customer service is a part of that, but education is as well. Are you finding people that this is naturally a hobby of theirs and hiring them, or where does that process begin?
Staffing now is anybody that applies is hired because we're so shorthanded.
Right.
Most of them, the younger kids, high school or college, have no plant experience whatsoever.
Right.
And but they pick up pretty quickly. I try to focus on the key people helping customers who need help.
Mhm.
And the younger people, we're watering, we're getting the carts put away, we're
Right.
directing people to areas where they want to shop. And as they watch us, I think they pick up on a lot.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's interesting. Yeah. Hiring is definitely a tricky situation at this point. Have you found like any tool that's been successful for getting people to hire right now?
No, and we in the past have used, the ZipRecruiter or
Right.
those type of things, and we've gotten some responses.
Mhm.
Last year, I used one of those organizations and got zero. You know, um, and a lot of people hit our website career page this
Mhm.
year, but did not actually come in. Uh,
Gotcha.
and you guys were tracking, our pages on our website,
Yeah.
and Lexi was saying how it's surprising how many people hit the career page,
Yeah.
but there really was nothing going on at the store. And even high school and college, really just in the last couple weeks, we've had some young people in, but college kids don't seem to really need to work anymore.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So interesting. Would you say hiring is one of the bigger challenges you're facing as a small business at this point?
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
it's holding us back from work, from getting jobs done. My husband does a landscape end, and if he had more men, we'd be doing more work, but
Right.
we're limited. And if somebody wants something done, it might be 6 weeks till we get there. And it's not because we're swamped. It's just that
Right.
we can't get enough done quickly.
Wow, isn't that interesting? Wow. Are there just speaking along the lines of challenges, other challenges that you're running into as a small business, maybe just this year or as a result of the pandemic?
Well, I think we were, it was very busy last year because people were home and they were
Right.
starting to garden. They wanted to garden. And so now it's catching up that the pandemic's over and people are now going to the beach and they're gone and they have their disposable income is being spread around.
Mhm.
So we expected it to slow down, and we were off from last year for the first time in May, which is a huge month, the biggest month of the year for a garden center.
Okay.
But looking at what was down, it was our hard goods. It wasn't my perennials or the annuals or the nursery
Oh,
stock. It was
interesting.
the hard goods in the store. And then I look at how much I never received that I ordered. And if you look at the amount I didn't receive, and that's about the volume of what I was off for the month. And now, I mean, product just hasn't come. And I am going now to cancel most of it because it's too late.
Wow. Geez.
So your retail, people say, oh, retail is going to boom nationally, and it cannot boom if you have nothing to sell.
Without product. Yeah. Oh,
And the
that's
product chain is one being made and supply, and the other delivery. I
right.
was told there's America's short 1 million truck drivers right now. So you can't, the economy can't move forward if there's no product.
Right. Yeah. Geez, that's so interesting. I mean, obviously there's been delays from the consumer end, for me. But I guess it's interesting to think about the position that puts the retailer as the middleman, as well. Obviously that's a tough position to be in.
Every day people say, do you have stakes or shepherd hooks or gloves or pottery? Or I said, it's not here. It just never came.
Wow.
And I don't know if or when. And, I've asked the salesmen and companies so long now, they must be asked by everybody, and,
Right.
they don't know. So at this point, I don't want to harass them.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we don't have it. I don't know if we're ever going to have it. Not till next year.
Oh man.
But
So as a
it
tool
really
of like,
makes a difference.
oh,
It's amazing.
absolutely.
I didn't think it was a big deal, but then when I looked at the numbers, I'm like, why are we off just because we didn't have stuff to sell?
Right. Right. Yeah. That's so interesting. Now, have you felt like you've been in a position where you've had to be like proactive with communicating those delays and stuff to your customers? And if so, how have you gone about that?
Well, the customers will ask, and our employees will say to me, when, are we getting more pottery?
Mhm.
And at first I'm like, yes, it's coming. And now I just say, I go to the customer and just say,
Right.
the supply chain is so broken.
Right.
It was ordered in September,
Mhm.
and I don't know if we'll ever get it. So at this point, I would not plan on us having it.
Wow. Oh my
It's getting late. It's going to be July. So
Yeah.
and I know if they go around elsewhere to find it, I don't think anybody has it.
Right. Right. Geez. And that's so interesting.
So they change their mind, they buy something else, they go another direction, but that sale is lost,
Right.
There is no substitute. All the other pots are sold out too.
Right.
And I work with 3 major distributors, and everybody has nothing in stock.
Wow. And are you working with your staff to sort of transition not to like a different type of sale, or is there like that little inventory that it's difficult to do?
In that situation, there's not any inventory to really move to. So we really depend on the plant sales. That's
Sure.
our forte. We grow a lot of the stuff. I can supply continually plants. That's not a problem. We just have to really focus on them looking great, and everything being top notch, no dead, no, get the tables clean, get everything looking good, and capitalize on people buying more than they anticipated.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, absolutely. But that's so smart. I mean, obviously perception when you walk into a store is important anyway. Obviously more so today, you want somebody coming in and thinking like, oh, that would look so good. That would look so good. Instead of like, well, I don't know if I could bring that one back to life, or, or whatever it may be. They can really visualize what it could look like at their own house.
Right.
Great. Anything like new going on at the store this year?
Not really, just because we can't even, we're trying to settle into what's going to be the new norm.
Yeah.
And things are slowing down, and we can't count on any product. We can't count on any. I must say that what we're doing with you folks, with like, this is pollinator week.
Mhm.
So it chooses we used to not pay attention to a lot of things, but Lexi makes me talk about something every week. And so we're focusing on something every week. And perennials, I mean, we do a ton of perennials and annuals. And I do think we can really, I look at customers, I know they're new, first timers. So I think the reputation for having a lot of good stuff all summer versus a lot of garden centers put things on sale.
Okay.
Just kind of they get rid of stuff. We bring fresh in right into August.
Wow. So for those that don't know about like the relationship with Lexi, so Kris is a website customer of ours, just for the people that are listening. And so she works one-on-one with like a marketing specialist who is, as she mentioned, like proactively offering ideas to like keep the website up to date or potentially like give people a new reason to come in. And I think that that's a really important thing that you mentioned because, while you may not have supplies to be able to cater to like somebody looking for pottery or things like that, a lot of hard goods, it is important to maybe educate people in the types of plants that you do have at the store that they maybe hadn't considered for their own home. So focusing on like tips of the week or different things like that through the website is also a great way to attract new customers. And as you mentioned, people coming into the store that you've never seen before. So kind of creating that hybrid of like education through the website, but also through customers coming in the door for the first time.
Yeah, and I think that when we started with your company, we also do the Facebook, and then my daughter does the Instagram, and she communicates with you guys on topics. So
Cool.
each week when Lexi will say, oh, I said, oh, this week we'll do delphiniums. My daughter is taking pictures, putting them on Instagram, and between everybody linking everything,
Yeah.
it really is, I think, the best advertising. And it worked
Absolutely.
great with COVID because we started with you in March or February of 2020. And
Okay.
when
So
COVID hit in March, it just, everybody went online,
yeah.
and we had the new website, and then we had the Instagram and the Facebook. And I think that was really key.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, sometimes, I think having like a website in today's day and age isn't really as much of an education process as it used to be when I first started working here 11 years ago. But social media sometimes still does take some convincing for stores. And so it's interesting that, you mentioned Facebook, you mentioned Instagram, and the benefits that it has had on your business. Do you feel like that sort of applies to your entire range of demographics of customers, or do you feel like it really caters towards younger people, which is maybe the perception, or what's been your experience as a small business owner?
I used to think it was a lot the younger. I think Instagram is probably the youngest group, but then Facebook, a lot of older people are on
Yeah.
right now. And I know my father-in-law is 93, and he's on his phone doing all this stuff a lot more than I am. And so it's changing, but people, I think, they go to your website to see what you sell. It's different than the other two.
Yeah.
And when we joined your company, they had, pick your favorites and pick your, pick of the week or whatever. And people would come in and specifically ask for products that we had for the first time.
Very
And
cool.
so the only way they knew about that was through our website. And
Gotcha.
I was astounded, but they showed the number of hits in last May. It was astounding.
Wow.
We were really so happy. We had changed, we had gone with a new website and Instagram. My daughter plays piano. So like at Christmas, she did like a big piano thing with a video, which she shared with the website, and so it gets out there to
Yeah.
People share that if it's good with
Yeah.
their friends. And I think that's the key really, is to have something so cool that
Yeah.
everybody's sharing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry. My phone might be ringing. Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. So obviously, you had mentioned going live with the website sort of just in time before COVID kind of hit. Were there other like things that COVID, like the impact that COVID had on your business? I mean, you were ready with the website, you were already active on social media, and then more so through working with Lexi, but any other impacts that COVID had on your business? Or what
It had a huge impact because people were locked up, and so we actually, the best thing your company did was the governor of New Jersey on a Friday, gave our lockdown. We were considered an essential business. So I called up your company and said, can you change my homepage when you click on it to just say, we're open 7 days, free delivery, curbside pickup. And within half an hour, it was there. And it just blew up. Our phone just started ringing. It was, people definitely went to the website when they were home. And so then the phone started ringing, and it was amazing how many people called and needed help.
Were you doing curbside pickup? I assume you were probably doing delivery before. No,
we were doing delivery, but we just said free local delivery. And
okay.
We were not doing curbside pickup, and people were home and scared to death, and they just wanted a flat of pansies.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't want a lot of stuff. And my husband, the landscape end, of course, shut down pretty much. I mean, we did have spring cleanups where we would mulch and that kind of thing to do that had been scheduled. But as far as any new phone calls or any new work coming in, everything was stopped.
Right.
So he had time to do whatever they wanted. If they wanted, he'd drop it off, they could pick it up in the parking lot. They could, we just, whatever they needed, because we could do it. We had that he and I could just do what people wanted. And a lot of people reached out, and it was not a hardship on us, but people were so grateful. It was probably the best thing we've ever done as far as feeling good about our business.
Wow. That's so great. That's so great. Yeah. I mean, curbside pickup, local delivery was definitely a huge transition that some stores were prepared to make. Others had not considered it before and were sort of forced to. But definitely that transition was a really, really interesting thing to watch. because we work with, I mean, over 600 retail stores, not even including all of the locations, you know, a business may have. So it was a very interesting transition to see how stores sort of leaned into that heavily, and those that were maybe still apprehensive, but over time had to lean into it. You know, and I'm interested to hear your perspective. Like, do you think that that is going away? Do you think stores or customers will continue to rely on curbside pickup now that they're used to that convenience?
We were ready for it this spring. We had printed special forms for pickup, and we haven't used it at all.
Wow.
We haven't used it at all. And even last year, people would call and say, you know, are you open? Can I come? And when we got into May, I would say, come. You know, there's 4 cars in my parking lot, and we have 4 acres here. You can walk around, you can pick your plants, you can get outside. And some people were so scared, and people would come and they would just say, oh, thank you. I haven't been out of the house. Thank you so much. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not jammed. We're pretty spread out. Our cash registers, we moved outside.
Oh, cool.
And so all shopping was done outdoors, and some people would get a cart and stand in the parking lot and just read off their credit card number or whatever.
Wow.
You didn't even have to come close to us. They could load their own, they wanted to load their own car. And that was, anything they wanted was fine. But I think people were so happy to be out. I mean, just to be outside, and one man actually asked, my husband, he was an elderly man walking around. My husband asked if he could help him. And he said, no, but, would you mind if I just walk around? I don't really plan to buy anything. I just need to get out. And my husband said, absolutely, go, you know, to walk around, spend time, just, you know, it's therapeutic around here, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But it was, and people were so locked up and so afraid. It was really a great place to come. Just
Yeah.
look at the flowers.
Yeah. I wonder too, if that is a little unique to your, the type of business that you're in, because there is so much that goes into like looking and touching and feeling and education and being able to like ask questions and stuff. Because I do think other retailers that I've talked to have talked a lot about like curbside pickup and that potentially being the new norm for them. But maybe it's different with like hard goods versus live goods, you know? But yeah, that's so interesting. But what a special space that you and your husband have created there. That's so cool.
Well, we try to encourage people to come out, because they said, oh, I want pansies. Well, there's 20 different types. I mean,
Right.
colors, and come pick your own. And they took a little coaxing, but you know, there's so much to see. And I think it is relaxing,
Yeah.
and no one had anywhere to go. You know, every time people would come, you have nowhere to go.
Right.
So
You're not in a rush.
so just hang out and walk around and enjoy the flowers. And we don't care what you buy. Just, you know,
Right.
get out I think you'd see people just walking around.
Wow.
And that was good. I mean, that was good. We have the perfect type of business. Everything's outdoors.
Yeah. Now, obviously you've created like a very special space. Obviously you care a lot about customer service. The presentation of your plants is obviously important to you as well. Do you feel like your competitors are doing something similar, or who are your competitors at this point? Is it more big box stores, or is it other small owned businesses?
I think the small owned businesses have their clientele.
Mhm.
And I think probably when COVID hit and we got a lot of new people, they were box store people.
Mm,
They were people who didn't want to stand in line or go into a store.
right.
They weren't coming from another garden center.
Okay.
So a lot of people, I think, were surprised. A lot of people, the pricing on a lot of products is the same. And
Mhm.
I think they always think they're getting things cheaper
Cheaper.
there, but that's not always true.
Yep.
And people were friendly, and I think they liked us being friendly. And so I think they had a good experience.
Great.
So this spring was a test, and I think a lot of them are back.
That's awesome.
So, you know,
Wow.
you get a few here and there, whatever you can do. I know some people, the younger generation is just used to buying everything there.
Right.
And you go there for something and you pick up some plants and you pick up whatever while you're there. They don't put a lot of thought into going to a plant store and a wood
Right.
store and a hardware, store
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So
In my area, you know, and shame on me for not knowing how many options I had available. But when my husband and I first bought our home, it was during the pandemic. And so we went to a big box store and spent what I considered to be a large amount of money, thinking we could do it ourselves and like chip away at it over time. And we didn't know what we were doing. Nobody that worked there helped us. It was, we just bought everything, like died within a few weeks, and certainly through the winter. I mean, it was, we didn't buy plants that were like great for our area or climate or whatever. And then this year we went with a local landscaping company that also has a garden center attached. And for truly, I believe, less money than we would have spent if we went and bought all new again, and they did more of an area, we got, I mean, we just are so happy. And then we've been able to like rely on them. So through Facebook, we've been like asking them questions like, sorry, again, how often, like, should we water these or whatever? And they've been like, we'll send a picture and we can give you some advice. And just that like hand holding is exactly what we needed. And so it's been, you know, they definitely got us as a customer through the pandemic, but it's definitely like a lifelong relationship. And next year where we want them to come back and do a little bit more and a little bit more, and really like teach us as they go, you know, which I think is just such a cool partnership.
And another new thing is through the website, people could ask us questions, and we're not used to, oh gosh, who's gonna be in charge of responding? You know, everybody's got all their stuff to do. And I guess my husband's the one that comes in at 6 a.m. and he goes through and answers questions, but we weren't used to that. So
yes.
anything. Oh no, did somebody get that question? It's like, oh yeah, I got it. And it's like, oh, another thing.
Yeah. It's so interesting when you have a website or Facebook or Instagram, you know, the perception is even though your business is closed, you're open 24/7. So communicating with customers is certainly an added responsibility. But it, you know, I sort of always encourage stores to think about it like, imagine as if it was someone at your register, like you would not ignore them, you know? So obviously replying to those customer inquiries is equally as important.
So I do get, one, people say, oh, thank you for your response. So I kind of get the impression that
Not a lot of people do.
Not everybody calls it back. And for landscaping, people are like, nobody called me back from the other place. So, and it's a problem. There's just the volume is, you know, so big. And who's going to deal with it? You have to kind of organize that. And so it's, I think it's for a small business, it's hard to keep up with it all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very, very true. You know, kind of along those lines, what are the biggest obstacles that like a small business is having today, would you say? Or the big threats maybe that they're facing?
I think that keeping up the whole social media and is big, because I was lucky enough to have kids that can bail me out a lot. But some of the older people we meet at trade shows, it's, you know, they can't do it. They can't do Facebook and Instagram and website and run a business. And, you know, you're the bookkeeper and you're everything. And that's difficult. And there's not the help. And if there is help, it's not necessarily got a long lifespan or, you know, at all talented in any, you know, to help you. So, you know, just when you invest in somebody who's I had people doing Instagram for a while and then they went to college and then a new one came in and then she left. And that I think is not necessarily good. And for it to be very, you know, different people do it different ways.
Absolutely. And a lot of different voices too. I mean, it definitely, you can tell a story in a lot of different ways for sure.
Right. And I don't really want to have to police that. You know? So who, you know, it becomes another burden. So it's just, I think as a small business owner, you know, just, you really have to do it all. And it's a challenge, and you have to really like what you do, because it's going to be all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because there are so many hats that a small business owner wears, you know, and focusing on technology alone. I mean, there's so much that goes into that. That's how we make it a full-time job is, you know, we're always constantly learning new things, and there's so much that goes into it. So yeah, I mean, I can't imagine all of the responsibilities that you guys have. And obviously that is a huge obstacle for a small business owner.
Well, that's how, I mean, really, we are a true value vendor.
Okay.
And so that's how we saw your company speaking there. And it was a no-brainer, because we need somebody to take the whole ball of wax, the website, the Facebook, everything, and just do it. And doing it for a lot of garden centers, they knew that I had a woman doing it before, but she made some big mistakes horticulturally.
Okay.
She didn't know what she's talking about.
Okay.
So now it's, you know, you guys are doing garden centers and all you're posting things that are legitimate, and I don't worry about it.
Right.
So that's huge.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And that's a testament to Lexi because
Mhm.
she is very educated in like garden centers and in so many plants. And she like set a plant today and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're very passionate about it. So I believe you.
Well, so many times a year, I call her up and say, well, what's everybody else doing?
Right.
And
That's
she
so
would say,
such a common question.
yeah. And she says, well, they're talking about this and this and this. And I said, well, do you have pictures? Yes. Well, then just do it.
Yeah.
I can't, I don't have anything this week, or I can't get it together, but she has made it very easy. And your presence is constant and it's changed and it's updated, and it's not something she tells us it's time to pick new things. It's
Right.
time to post. So nobody here has to try to be on top of that. Like you say, technology, I feel like we missed, we have discs and we have CD players and we have things, like it happens so fast.
So
And
fast.
that's not even what we're talking, the phones. I mean, we can't keep up with this stuff.
Yeah, no, I know. I totally hear you. It does it. So it's hard to even know what to focus on because it's like by the time I learn about it, are we going to be on, to the
Exactly.
next new thing? So yeah, no, that is so interesting. I feel like so often technology is tied in, but with a younger generation, right or wrong, I think that connection is often made. And just thinking about like generations, has a younger generation changed the way that you've run your business? Obviously you talked about hiring, but like as a customer base, has a younger generation changed the way you do things?
Well, it's changed the way we market. I mean, plants used to be, people knew what they wanted, so you could set it up a certain way.
Right.
And now it's all impulse. They walk in, it's got to just look cool. And so, we just do it all. We mix together things. If a shrub and is blooming, it comes to the front, it's out the door. They're
Mhm.
not going to walk back and find it. They're not going to
Okay.
look around, look for things. They're going to come in and say, that's cool, I want it. That's beautiful. That's colorful. So we have to move stuff all the time and just
Okay.
make sure if it's a season for something, it's right in the front and everybody can see it.
Wow.
We market it differently. We plant planters differently. They want, foliage with perennials and annuals in the same tub. Years ago, you never did that. It was only, annuals, but now it's, you mix things. And if something's in a gardening magazine, get ready. Because
I was just going to ask, are there influences for your customer base? Like, are they getting influenced by magazines, by social media? Like, where are they getting prompted to come in if they're unfamiliar?
I'm not sure now because people get their news so many different ways.
Sure.
But one year it's like everybody's buying Baptisia. Yeah, yeah. It was somewhere. And it had to be in an
Wow.
article or something. And then no one buys it. So you bulk up on it.
Yeah.
And then the next year it's something else. But you could definitely see once in a while there's something that's hot. And I don't know whether it's magazines, if it's online, if it's gardening clubs, I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. Just sort of shifting gears a little bit. What do you think if you had a crystal ball, although we all through this entire conversation have talked about how much life has changed in 18 months, but if you had a crystal ball, what do you think 5 years from now the store looks like?
Um, I think it looks fairly the same. I mean,
Okay.
our industry is plants, and the plant industry is changing. So, the product is changing a little bit, but the idea that people, they come in and they want pretty stuff, and you just have to, have a nice selection and good pricing, and just keep it always looking like wow.
Yeah. Yeah. That's well said. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Yeah. I think you're right. I mean, especially in your business, I mean, to some degree, you probably are safe because there may not be too many of these sudden changes that are forced on your business as they maybe are other retail businesses. But it's so interesting. I was lost a little bit of train of thought just thinking about how much presentation is so important to your store. And I feel like for me, that would be so fun, like getting to constantly reimagine things. Because in a retail store, when you just have all hard goods, to some degree, like you're sort of stuck. Like you
Yeah.
can change the aisles a little bit, but how different does it really look? So I feel like that is such a cool job and such an opportunity to be so creative on a very regular basis. I love that.
My husband in the winter just starts building things, and I always ask him, what are you doing? And he says, oh, I'm putting a big arbor. When you drive in, it's going to go across the whole front of the store, and we're going to hang all the big hanging baskets here. And then he made an octagon 2-tiered, and we're going to put,
Oh,
and
I love
so
that.
we just make all it, the appearance really changes. And seasonally we, move this over there and this, change all the furniture around. And It's fun, and that keeps it a little bit fun for us because it's definitely changed over the years.
Yeah.
And and he bright paints things like fluorescent green and fluorescent purple, and makes a whole bunch of tables the same. And
That's awesome.
yeah, it kind of looks so bright and colorful. It's almost like going down to like Key West or something, you know. You come in and it's like, whoo, boy, it's so tropical here.
Are we still
But
in New Jersey?
you know, a fresh coat of paint goes a long way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I really just have like one question left. And, just as a small business owner, if you had to give one piece of advice, besides run, one piece of advice, I knew it. One piece of advice for a business, somebody who may be considering starting their own small business, what would you think that would be?
It's really hard. It's like a lot of things work against you.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to be creative, and you have to be able to change. I mean, you can't be set in your ways, because COVID, you just change directions, and be positive, because positive vibes, I think everybody feels them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. But I can tell like you love what you do. And my mom actually said that to me yesterday as she was babysitting my children. She was like, when you love what you do, it's not work. And I can feel that passion like coming through even over a video call. Like you very much love what you do. And I think that is so important.
Well, it is. And I think that I can't imagine, like we were even away this weekend, and my father-in-law was like, stop working. And I'm like, I am not working up here.
Not work.
I am planting all those columbine, and I am doing all that. And then we're going to go down and we're going to stake I said, I love doing this stuff.
Oh,
I just can't wait to do it. So once it starts to be a chore, then we got a problem.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I'm so, so grateful. And I know a lot of small businesses are going to benefit from being able to hear your perspective and get to the opportunity to pick your brain a little bit. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was enjoyable.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, have a great afternoon, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, Francesca.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.